Relax, everybody. I'm here. Thank you. Thank you all. What a beautiful day for America. A perfect day. Some people, many people, are saying it might just be the greatest day in US history. Why? Because we had the biggest, most beautiful, most tremendous military parade the world has ever seen. The 250th anniversary of the United States Army. Absolutely historic. And yes, folks, it also happened to be my birthday. Total coincidence. Or maybe fate. Probably fate. You decide. And let's be honest, this wasn't just a parade for the Army. No, it was also, maybe even mostly, about me. And I'm fine with that, because when I'm great, and I am great, it lifts everything around me, like sunlight, like gravity, only better looking. I'm like a motivational speaker for the entire country just by standing there. The fake news says, "Oh, Mr. President, it cost too much. $25 million, maybe $45 million. First, good. I like big numbers. Big numbers mean big things are happening. Second, compared to the trillion-dollar defense budget, that's less than 0.005%. That's a drop in the bucket. No, not even a drop. A sparkle on the handle of the bucket. People say, you could have spent it on education or healthcare. Sure, or hear me out. We could spend it on tanks, on helicopters, on the kind of spectacle that makes America proud again. And that road preparation for the tank treads? Jobs, folks. Infrastructure, stimulus. Democrats should be sending me thank you cards. Let's zoom out. The Pentagon's budget is almost $1 trillion. More than the next 9 or 12 countries combined. The critics say that's bad. I say it's fantastic. It means we're number one, and nobody's even close. China's in second place, and they're like way down there. They can't see us from where they are. So, $45 million for a parade? Not a cost, it's a commercial. A full-color, surround sound advertisement to the world. America is unbeatable. America is rich. And America has Donald J. Trump. They say, it's on your birthday. It's political. It's narcissistic. Excuse me, it's Flag Day. It's the Army's birthday. It's my birthday. That's a triple holiday. If that's narcissism, then we need more narcissism. And honestly, everybody's birthday should have tanks and helicopters. The country would be in a much better mood. Now, the fake news says, Mr. President, it looked just like a parade in China, or Russia, or North Korea. And I say, excuse me, have you seen those? They're stiff. They're gray. Everyone's frowning, goose-stepping like they're late for a dentist appointment. In Russia, you've got tanks rolling past a bunch of old guys in heavy coats. In China, they have soldiers so synchronized they might as well be robots. Probably are robots. And in North Korea, Kim Jong-un stands there with binoculars like he's bird watching, and everybody pretends they're having a good time, but you can tell they're not. My parade? Totally different. We had music, rhythm, smiles. You can't fake that, folks. Our tanks didn't just roll, they winked at people. Our Apaches and Chinooks didn't just fly overhead, they flirted with the skyline. The troops swaggered. Even the horses looked like they had endorsement deals. Now, yes, okay. Some people say it still looked pretty similar, but that's because tanks are tanks. A tank is going to look like a tank. The difference is in the presentation. Their parades are mandatory fun. Mine was real fun. Their leaders have to force applause. My applause was loud, spontaneous, tremendous. People were clapping so hard they probably needed ice for their hands afterward. And let's be honest, China, Russia, North Korea, their parades are for intimidation. Mine was for celebration. Celebration of the army. Celebration of America. And, still being honest, celebration of me. Speaking of swagger, did you see the tanks? Abrams, Bradleys, Strikers? Rolling thunder. Some were so shiny you could see your reflection. I walked past one and thought, wow, is that General Patton? No, it was me. A bronze statue sculpted by God and financed by the best donors. They didn't just roll, they posed. They moved like they knew they were in the presence of greatness. One turret slowly turned toward me like it was saluting. That's chemistry, folks. Look at this, folks. We've got tanks rolling down the street. Tremendous spirit, tremendous nostalgia. But let's be honest, this thing looks like it just drove straight out of a museum gift shop. It's got the personality of a tin can and the horsepower of a lawnmower. This is why I say we need $1 trillion defense budget. People complain, oh, it's too much money. Well, do you want our brave men and women going into battle with this? Or do you want them in something beautiful, something new, something that looks like a Lamborghini with a cannon strapped on the front? Then look at these beauties. Absolutely incredible machines. Strong, reliable, better than anything G.I. Joe ever had, believe me. I had those toys as a kid. Plastic junk. Little snap-on missiles that flew 2 feet before breaking. Pathetic. What we've got rolling here? Real power, real muscle. If these had been in the cartoons, Cobra would have surrendered in 5 minutes. These would win every single time. Hasbro should be ashamed of themselves, folks. And by the way, Snake Eyes. Everybody talks about Snake Eyes. Great character, very tough. Cool mask, doesn't say a word, very mysterious. I respect it. Big fan. But let's be honest. Anything Snake Eyes can do, I can do better. He's silent. I've got the best words. He does martial arts. I do deal arts. Much more powerful. He sneaks in the shadows. I don't need shadows, folks. I am the spotlight. Tremendous presence. People say he's the ultimate soldier. Wrong. I'm the ultimate soldier. Snake Eyes has a sword. I've got Space Force. He's got throwing stars. I've got 5-star resorts. Believe me, if Snake Eyes were here right now, he'd be pulling me aside and whispering, "Sir, please, teach me how to be truly great." And I'd say, "Sorry, Snake, you just can't learn this. You're born with it." Here comes the Army's boldest move yet. They've officially deployed the Christian glam metal band Stryper. Fully camouflaged in a checkered combat jeep with a roof, they're ready to rock the battlefield with righteous riffs and questionable fashion choices. Nothing says shock and awe like a power ballad at 120 decibels. And the flyovers? We had Apache helicopters, Chinooks, Cobras, the works, beautiful machines. They circled, they swooped, they dipped. One pilot radioed, "Sir, you looked majestic." That's a quote. They tipped their rotors at me. Not just for the Army, well, okay, for the Army too, but mostly for me. The Golden Knights parachuted down and gave me a flag after they landed. Huge moment. Some people said, "Sir, isn't that unusual?" And I said, "You're right, it was too small. Next time I want a flag so big it needs its own zip code." And we had the drones. Did you see them? Flying around, buzzing like mechanical hornets. People said, "Sir, why drones in a parade? They're noisy, they crash, they invade privacy." Exactly. That's the charm. Critics say they're cheap toys. I say, that's called efficiency. Why spend $50 million on a jet when you can annoy your neighbor with a $500 drone? That's return on investment. Tremendous savings. And the critics? Oh, they love to moan about the drones. Civilian casualties, wrong houses, collateral damage, blah, blah, blah. But folks, let's look at the bright side. At least people know our drones work. Sometimes they work a little too well, but they definitely work. And that's more than most governments can say. So when you saw those drones at the parade, remember, they weren't just buzzing over the crowd. They were buzzing with symbolism. They were saying, "We see you. We hear you. We know what you ordered for lunch." And honestly, isn't that what freedom feels like? And then, folks, we had the robot dogs. Did you see them? Walking down Pennsylvania Avenue like mechanical chihuahuas on steroids. People said, "Sir, they're creepy. They look like something out of Black Mirror." Exactly. That's the point. If it doesn't freak out our enemies, what's the point? You want a dog that licks your face, or one that can carry a machine gun while jogging at 12 miles an hour? I'll take the latter. Tremendous. Some people say they're job killers for real military dogs. But let me tell you, real dogs shed. They need food. They need belly rubs. Robot dogs, they just need a firmware update and maybe a charger. Much easier, and no vet bills. The Pentagon saves millions. Total win. And yes, some folks say they're nightmare fuel. They scare children. They scare adults. But think about it. If they scare you, imagine how much they'll terrify Russia or China. That's called psychological warfare. Cheaper than bombs, more effective than sanctions. And when I waved, one of them tilted its head at me. Incredible. You could feel the loyalty. Not man's best friend, Trump's best friend. And look at this, folks. George Washington himself showed up. That's right, the first president, the father of our country. He got out of his cherry tree, polished the wooden teeth, and said, "I'm going to Trump's parade." Tremendous honor, believe me. Nobody else could have brought him back. Only me. And doesn't he look incredible? He's nearly 300 years old, folks, and still has better hair than Joe Biden on his best day. People say it's an actor. Fake news. Wrong. It's the real George. He came back because he heard I was president again, and he wanted to see it with his own eyes. And of course, folks, you can't ignore the Washington Monument. Some people look at it all rigid and towering and looming over everything and say, "Sir, that monument, it reminds me of something." And I say, Yes, it reminds you of greatness, strength, history. What else could it possibly remind you of? Nothing. Absolutely nothing else, believe me. And did you see one of the sponsors? Palantir? Tremendous company. Very high tech. People say, Mr. President, aren't they kind of creepy? They do all that surveillance stuff, track everything, analyze all the data. Yes, and that's why I love them. Creepy for bad guys, fantastic for us. Critics say Palantir invades privacy. I say they don't invade, they investigate. And honestly, most of you out there, you're not interesting enough to spy on anyway. Don't worry. If Palantir's watching, it means you finally made it. Some people complain they get all their money from government contracts, that they're like the Applebee's of defense tech. Always there, always the same, but I say, that's stability, that's loyalty, that's the kind of partner you want, one who never leaves the buffet line. Others whine that they're secretive, shadowy, named after a seeing stone from Lord of the Rings. And I say, exactly. Why wouldn't you want a magic orb that sees everything? If Sauron had used it to sponsor a parade, Mordor would still be open for business. When people ask, why Palantir? I tell them because the other guys are useless. Google knows what ads you click. Facebook knows what pictures you like. Palantir, they know exactly where everybody is, what they had for breakfast, and who they texted last night. Is that scary? Maybe, but it's our scary, and I love it. And let's not forget, folks, we have to thank one more tremendous sponsor tonight, Lockheed Martin. What a company. People say their planes cost too much, and they do, outrageously priced. Absolutely insane. But you know what? When you're draining the taxpayer, you might as well do it with style. Nobody drains a budget like Lockheed. They go over budget every single time, and people complain about it. I say, at least they're consistent. Most companies fail in new ways. Lockheed fails the same way every project. That's called stability, folks. Tremendous stability. They say Lockheed has too much influence in Washington. Too much? No, just the right amount. They practically write half the defense budget themselves. Cuts out the middleman, saves time. Very efficient, actually. Did you see little Marco? He was right there in the crowd, yawning. Can you believe it? Biggest parade in American history. Tanks, helicopters, drones, even robot dogs. And Marco looked like he was watching paint dry. Total low energy. People said, "Sir, he was tired." I said, "He's always tired." If yawning were an Olympic sport, Marco would win gold if he could stay awake long enough to get to the podium. And look who's here. Kristi Noem. Strong, brave, tough. She couldn't define habeas corpus, but most people don't even know what habeas corpus is anyway. Some people say, "Sir, she sold a book telling us she shot her puppy." But it shows she's not afraid to make hard decisions, or terrible ones. Folks, this was more than a parade. It was a flex, a global commercial. We spend more, we have more, we're better, and we've got me. It said Army 250th on the program, but let's be real, it was the Trump show. My presence alone made tanks sparkle. Helicopters hover like they were posing for a photo, and paratroopers land like ballerinas. That's the Trump effect. Obama gave speeches, Biden gave naps, I give trending hashtags. The whole world tuned in just to see if I'd wave, wink, or declare war on Canada by accident. So yes, folks, it cost a lot. Yes, it was my birthday. Yes, the critics cried. But guess what? We didn't just make history, we made history jealous. We showed the world America's strength and my strength, which, let's be honest, are the same thing most of the time. God bless you. God bless the United States Army. And God bless whatever parade we plan for my 80th. Because, folks, believe me, we're already making calls. Thank you for your attention to this matter.